Welcome back to Beers Up Sports Talk. Sebo in the house, Debo in the house. Night two of our NFL preview. Let's jump into it. Debo, what do you got for a beer?
So the family has been watching some Harry Potter recently. So I went out, got some liquid sorcery from Sloop Brewing Company. First sip ever. Feel like that's been a theme recently, trying to get some different beers. So
let's see what it is.
Nice and smooth, nice and fruity.
All right, and I got Fluffinity. Nightshift Brewing, Everett, Mass. Kind of a local thing. Let's do it.
I like it.
Look at that. Look at that. Just soak that in.
Yeah. So does it taste like a fluffernutter?
Oh, it tastes delicious is what it is.
Oh, delicious.
All right.
Good.
Last time we did the AFC East, the AFC North. Tonight we'll tackle the AFC South and the AFC West. Let's dive right in, D. The Houston Texans. Now, I'm just going to preface this division by I don't understand the over-unders. Just going to say it. So let's start with the Texans, a team that is dynamic, really good, over under 7.5. What you got?
Yeah, it's crazy that they're 7.5, right? But then you started talking about it before we got on here, and I'm trying to pull it up again. This schedule to start the season.
It's a monster.
It's a monster. It's Kansas City. It's Baltimore. It's Pittsburgh, Minnesota. You skip a week because you got Jacksonville, but then you got Tennessee and Green Bay before the bye. So in 7 weeks, there's a good possibility they're sitting at 2-5. Like, I mean,
this is a team that went 10-6 last year, D. Like, this is a team that could that is, in my opinion, a championship caliber team.
I agree. I think,
and the over-under has them going maybe 8-8.
Deshaun Watson just got that new contract. He's got Brandon Cooks, Will Fuller, Randall Cobb. You mentioned Kenny Stills before we got on here.
You got Fells. You got David Johnson.
Griffin. You got David Johnson. You got another D. Johnson and Duke Johnson. He's got the weapons. Can the defense keep him in games? That's where it is. Is J.J. Watt going to be healthy? His brother looks healthy.
Mm-hmm.
His brother, we talked last episode, brother's probably going to be an MVP candidate for that division, if not for the AFC.
Yep.
And JJ's got to show out. But I just can't, even with that start, I can't see them being under 7.5. I got them at 9 wins. That's where I'm at.
I'm over. We're going to say this a lot about a lot of teams in the NFL preview. If they stay healthy, they can be good. This team, I think, more than ever. If this team stays healthy, if every one of their stars stays healthy, I believe this is a championship caliber team. Deshaun Watson is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He is dynamic. He is incredible. He is like Mahomes 1A, in my opinion. David Johnson, it wasn't too long ago that he was one of the best running backs in the league.
Agreed.
Fuller has for years been kind of a dynamic wide receiver who just hasn't been able to stay on the field. Same with Cobb. Same with Stills, and same with the Cooks. Like, these are all guys that if they can if you look out there and you've got those 4 guys lined up and David Johnson standing next to you, Deshaun Watson, good God.
You don't even have to put them next to him. You put that in a 5 wide receiver set with David Johnson as the 5th wide receiver. Who are you guarding? You're not doubling anyone.
And here's the one. If J.J. Watt stays healthy, if they stay healthy, to me, this is a 10, 11, 12 win team. This isn't over under 7.5. I'm going right to Vegas. I'm putting the bet in right now. This is easy money, in my opinion. I get that they have a tough start, but they got some really winnable games. And by the way, Jacksonville's in the division. Indy, I know people got winning games, but like, I just think this team is better than 8 wins. This is over, easy over.
Yeah, I mean, J.J. Watt. He's been hurt a lot. I'm worried he might be past his prime. Kind of like that Clay Matthews. He was good, and then all of a sudden he just wasn't. So he might be at that point. I guess we'll wait and see.
The nice thing about JJ versus Clay, and I don't want to get into it too much, is that Clay as a linebacker, even though he kind of played the edge, did have to play some linebacker from time to time. JJ Watt, even in his last couple of years, is only going to be rushing the quarterback. and
Well, I
he's one
think
of the best to ever do it. And that's to me, like, if that guy's on the field for 1 to 2 downs every series, he's instilling fear in the quarterback.
Exactly. He'll be like that Julius Peppers was for the Packers for 2 or 3 years, where he was only in there in pass rushing downs, and that's his job.
Yep.
So it'll be
All
interesting.
right, so we both got the over. That's crazy to me. Let's go to the next team, Indianapolis, whose over-under is at 9, which if you're paying attention, folks, that has them winning the division. D, what do you got?
So can I ask you a couple questions?
Sure, hit.
Do you remember how – okay, let's rephrase this, because was Indianapolis's line good?
They've been getting better.
Okay.
For a long time, they were awful. That's what sealed the fate of their general manager.
Is Phillip Rivers mobile?
No, hasn't been ever in his career.
So basically, I worry about Phillip Rivers' health. Like, I don't know. Great, he was good with San Diego. He had a running back to a couple running backs to let it down to. He's got a great possession receiver in Keenan Allen. I'm worried about this team. I'm worried about Phillip Rivers staying healthy. I think what they're going to do is they're going to take advantage of Marlon Mack and Jonathan Taylor and trying to get it out of Rivers' hands. I know they signed him. I understand you're going to probably fight that a little bit, but I think drafting another running back, they want to get the ball and run it as often as possible. This division, whether it's Jacksonville, it's always come down to the last couple of weeks. I think they'll stay in the race, but I don't think they're going to get to over. I think they're going to go under the 9 wins.
Yeah, I've got them under. The last couple of years for Rivers, the problem was the offensive line. And to your point, Indianapolis, for a bunch of years, the offensive line was absolutely awful. And that's what ultimately, in my opinion, did Andrew Luck in. Let's not forget, it was a couple of years ago where the Colts had one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And they ran him into the ground because the general manager never prioritized the offensive line. It is better now.
Yeah.
But even if it is better, like, you've got a T.Y. Hilton coming off an injury and not a whole lot on the offensive side. And Rivers is good.
I mean, then you're with an injured Jack Doyle, and then you don't have much right there.
Yeah, I don't – this team just doesn't move the needle for me. And I don't know. Like, I could see this team going 5-11. Like,
I could too. I think they would have been smarter keeping Brissett as the starter and not spending the money on Rivers.
Well, and I get, like, you know, you make a run to the playoffs, and if you get in the playoffs, anybody can win. But I don't get excited about this team, and maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I don't see it. I know their defense has improved, their offensive line has improved. Phillip Rivers is still a high quality quarterback, and if he has protection, he's going to be able to make plays. I don't know that they win. I know they don't win 9 games. In my heart of hearts, I know they don't win 9 games.
Yeah, I agree with you.
All right, let's move on to maybe one of the biggest clown shows in the NFL. We talked about them last week with Leonard Fournette getting released. And welcome everybody to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Over under is 4.5. 4.5. What do you got, D?
I'm going to read my notes verbatim. Ready?
Let's have
under. No, I'm kidding. I mean, okay.
Good.
Under, and the slogan is tanking for Trevor. I mean, I think that's what Trevor Lawrence, Clemson quarterback, probably going to be the pick if Jacksonville's there. Mm-hmm. Listen, Gardner Minshew Mania, that was fun, you know, but he's not the answer. You brought it up. Fournette's ghost. Ngakwe's ghost. Like, one of their receivers that is out of my mind right now opted out. They don't have anyone. DJ Chark, he's a good receiver. He showed us last year that he can be a good receiver, but he's not going to be able to carry this team. Right.
You listen, man. You're pulling for stuff. You shouldn't be trying. This team's bad. Over under. What you got?
I told you under from the beginning.
I just wanted to say it again. I'm under too. Yikes, man. This team is, again, Tankapalooza, tank for Trevor. They've traded away a bunch of guys. They got a lot of draft picks.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong. Like, they're probably couple of years away from having a lot of really good players. If they get Trevor Lawrence, I mean, who was the cornerback that they traded away last year? And
Ramsey?
a bunch of draft picks for him. They've still got some guys on the defensive end that can play, but yeah, this ain't gonna be a good team. This is.
I mean, this is a team I'd love to see do well. They got
I wouldn't.
Cons.
You already know I wouldn't. I'm happy to see.
I know, but they're gonna fire him this year, and then you can get on board. But I mean, they got.
I'm not getting on board. I'm not getting on board. I don't want to see Jacksonville do well. Get them out of my face.
Well, you're a Bills fan, so I can say I want someone to do well in the AFC because I'm not.
It's going to be a long time until this team is good, because even if they get Trevor Lawrence next year, they don't have a lot of talent on that roster, and and a lot of that roster, the talent was built for the last couple of years plus like this year. So those guys, those contracts are going to come up, and either they're going to have to pay big money for guys in a rebuilding phase, or they're going to have to let those guys go. So it's going to be interesting. Not a lot to say on Jacksonville. So let's move to Tennessee.
Yeah.
This is a team that, I mean, I will say, they kind of shocked everybody last year. Kind of beat everybody up. Went to the AFC Championship. Not too far away from the Super Bowl.
No.
You know,
a couple plays go their way, and they're in the Super Bowl.
And now their over-under is 8.5. In this wacky division, over 8.5.
I mean, Ryan Tannehill. Yeah. I mean, that's the noise you make when you hear Ryan.
But was he not great last year?
He was fantastic last year because they let him throw at the beginning of the season, even the middle of the season. I'm sorry, not the beginning because Mariota was there. But once he got in there, they were like, we have to let him throw. Listen, Derrick Henry touched the ball a ton. Is he going to stay healthy? You worry about that. Is the defense going to be as good as last year? You worry about that. They did just sign Jadeveon Clowney, so that helps a little bit.
That's
right?
a good defense, Doc. They didn't. I mean, it just wasn't Derrick Henry running over folks.
No, I agree.
Grable coaching that defense. That's a good defense, man.
And then you sit there and you work. I just said Tannehill. Can he be as good as he was last year? That's all he has to do is be as good as last year. And you got A.J. Brown is a big play waiting to happen. Like this guy, he just screams touchdown every time he touches the ball. Like that's his goal. He runs hard. He wants that touchdown. I'm going over.
I've got over 2. I want to spend just a 1 minute shouting out Ryan Tannehill because the AFC East has been bad for a long time, and the Bills have been a part of that. Ryan Tannehill was a really good quarterback, and I've always thought he was a really good quarterback. It didn't make any sense when they drafted him, but he's developed into a pretty good quarterback. And I always felt bad that he kind of got ran out of Miami by Adam Gase.
Yeah.
Who's a clown. And Tannehill was coming off all sorts of injuries. This is a guy who can chuck it. And he's smart and he's talented. And Tennessee, I mean, they kind of lucked into this guy. I know Mariota didn't work out with them, and they got to pay. They had to pay Tannehill this year. But this is a good quarterback, and I know people kind of are down on him because Henry touched the ball a lot. But he can throw the ball, and he showed he could do that. And to kind of your point, they just added Clowney. Clowney's the real deal. We just talked about edge rushers. This is a guy that can go. And all of a sudden, you add that guy to this defense that was already pretty good last year. That kind of had Kansas City in check for a minute. And this is a team, if they put it all together, if Tannehill and Henry give us 90% of their performance last year, they're going to be right back where they were this past year.
No, and I don't want to say that I didn't believe in Tannehill, but, he's in Miami. You saw flashes. And sometimes when you see flashes, you're like, okay, it's just flashes. He never really materializes. Can he do it again is more of what I'm saying. He can
totally.
And that's where I'm at. So your next question is going to be who you got winning the division.
Yeah, who's your division winner? Who's your MVP?
Week 17. Tennessee is visiting the Houston Texans. Division on the line. Tennessee Titans win the division.
Who's your MVP?
And as much, it's a quarterback-driven league. As much, even with Tennessee winning the division, it's going to be more team-oriented. I think Watson wins the MVP of that division.
So I've got Houston winning the division, and I think maybe I'm way off. I'm never way off. I'm really good at this. So
Red
I
Sox.
think this is a. I just think this is a championship caliber team, Doc. Like I don't understand where again, if they take a knock here or there, but as we just said, offensively, if they stay healthy and you line those guys up,
Yep.
it's going to be hard to stop them, right? And then the flip side of that is their defense is pretty good too. And so,
is it though? I worry about. I'm sorry. I'm worried about.
We're going to talk about this. Let me just say this. We're going to talk about this with Kansas City in a minute. When you're playing in front, your defense needs to be one type of defense.
Yeah.
Kansas City built that defense, right? The Steelers, which we did yesterday, the Steelers are built to win 60 minutes of football. Houston and KC, we're going to get to them, are meant to be defenses that play in front, right? Like attack the quarterback. If J.J. Watt is healthy and they're winning games and he's able to attack the quarterback, watch out. I'm going Deshaun Watson as the MVP.
No, I'll agree with you because, well, I mean, we'll get into it not tomorrow, but the day after probably. The Packers defense is the same way. Every game that they were ahead, they won because of that defense.
Right.
San Francisco, they couldn't beat them because they were never ahead. They don't have someone to stop that. So I agree with you with Houston's defense. If Watt's healthy, Kansas City, like you said, we'll get into that. But I'll agree with you there.
This is the team that 10-6 last year without Watt. And again, I saw some people fussing about Deshaun Watson getting paid. He is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and it's not even close. Like this guy, they could be down 21, and in a flick of a wrist, they're winning the game. Like he's that good. I
agree.
I'm on board with him. All right, so let's switch gears. AFC West. Good luck to everybody, not the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm just going to say it out loud, but it is what it is. Let's start first with the John Elway Broncos. The over-under is 7.5. What do you got, D?
Wow. I'm looking at everything, and Denver Broncos 7.5. They picked up Melvin Gordon to go with Philip Lindsay. And here's my thing: they have Drew Lock. You know, people say he's not that great. They picked up Gordon, and they're going to have Lindsay, and they want to keep him from throwing 30 times a game as much as possible.
But let me stop you right there. That don't make any sense.
Right, well,
okay,
that's where I'm going. That's where I'm going with this. I disagree with this strategy. You have Noah Fant, who's pretty athletic.
Yep.
He reminds me of an Antonio Gates. He's not at that level yet, but he could be that level.
And he's not a Hall of Famer yet?
What'd you say?
He's not a Hall of Famer yet?
No, not yet. I mean, he's played one season. You got Cortland Sutton, who I think is an explosive
I know
receiver.
you like Sutton a lot.
I do like Sutton a lot. And they added Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah.
They have the offensive weapons on offense to make this quarterback let him throw the ball. Let this offense live. Let them go. That's the way they're going to win games.
Where did Locke play? Wasn't he like at a place where they chucked the ball a ton?
I don't know. I don't know the college.
He's a Missouri guy, but I could be wrong. I'm gonna have to look that up.
I just let him go. Let him win games.
Right.
But here's the thing. I know they're not going to do that. They're not going to let him win games.
Bro, he went to Missouri. They literally play a spread offense. Yeah, let him chuck it.
They're not going to, and they're not getting to 8-8. They're going under.
I've got them under too. My notes were pretty simple. Can Locke make the jump? And I think to your point, maybe we're wrong. Also, who's their coach? So here's my thing. They went out and they got a first-round wide receiver. They got like second-round tight end. They got your boy Sutton, who you really like. They got a whole lot of –
I mean,
I know. I'm not as big – I'm not as high on him, but like –
I'm not an expert, but you can talk to listen to all the experts, all the talking heads. They like Sutton. He shows how good he is. They just don't throw it enough because – don't want to let Locke do it. Let him do it.
The question about this team is will they let Locke go, but also is their defense any good? Probably we're talking about the end of Von Miller's career.
Yep.
And he's still J.J. Watt dynamic.
Yep.
And literally won a Super Bowl for them basically. But what's the rest of that defense look like? You know, and that's my biggest concern with this team is they're a year or two away from competing.
Yep.
The Melvin Gordon signing never made sense to me.
I agree with you.
But you know what? It's a 2-year deal and it's whatever. But like, this team will be good. They're going to be 6-10, 7-9. It is what it is.
No, I mean, I agree with you. I think they're I just don't know how you have Philip Lindsay and Royce Freeman, and then you're like, yeah, let's sign Melvin Gordon. Like, you already had a crowded backfield. You were splitting carries between them already.
Right.
And we talked about this when we were talking about the draft. Melvin Gordon only had 1 year averaging more than 4 yards per carry.
Yeah.
He's not explosive. He's just going to get you what you need, and that's great. You get that running back, but is that worth wasting money on someone who can't break the big plays when you need it?
Right. All right, let's do it. Let's get to these Chiefs, man. Over-under is 11.5. What you got?
Super Bowl champions. Super Bowl champion.
You calling it out now, or are you?
No, I'm saying that they are the Super Bowl champions. They're they're starting Thursday night.
That's going to be a game
against those Houston Texans. I'm looking.
That game could be like 75-70, really.
I mean, there's a good possibility. No fans. It'll be interesting. Damian Williams opted out. So now they're
running back, Doc.
They're starting Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
You got CEH in the house, man.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine. He'll recoup what they lost at Williams. I mean, it took how long for Williams to actually get going? McCoy.
It don't take much in that offense to be a good running back, Doc, because Pat Mahomes is chucking the ball all over the field.
Patty M, right? Until they get upended, they're over. They're good. Yeah. They're gonna be leading. Mahomes is he's good. He's, unless he gets hurt like last year.
But here's the thing: he got hurt and they still won the Super Bowl. Like, that's the crazy thing. Here's what I'll say: if they can continue that offense to be dynamic, and again, that will always be the challenge, right? Because it's now 2 full years into the Mahomes Andy Reid experiment. Well, it's 3 years, but 2 years where he's been a starter.
Yep.
And can defenses catch on? Now, we talked about it last week or yesterday about how with no preseason, offenses are going to have the upper hand. That's why I expect this first game. Now, it could end up being 7-7, but it's not going to happen. It's going to be like 75-70 because these offenses are just going to be like going. And I do think now that they've signed Mahomes for 10 years, brother got paid.
Yeah.
Stop being a little bit too aggressive with him. Like, just let him chuck it. Keep him safe.
I think you're saying 70, whatever. And I know it's just because they're two really good offenses. But you have a Kansas City team who is bringing back Hill, Hardman, bringing back Sammy Watkins. Those receivers and Travis Kelce have all been on the same page as Patrick Mahomes for the past.
They are going to score a lot of points.
Right. Watson hasn't ever played in a game with Cobb. He hasn't ever played in a game with Brandon Cooks. I get Watson's good. I love Watson. I agree with you that he is a fantastic quarterback, and he's probably Patrick Mahomes 1A. But he doesn't have that rapport with them. You can't do that in practice. You can't without any game experience. It's going to take them too long to figure it out. I mean, Kansas City is going to be good. I think they're going to beat them handily.
And the KC defense is not bad. And as we mentioned earlier, it's built to be an elite. It's built to attack the quarterback.
Yep.
And again, I don't want to like say that CEH is like the second coming of like Jesus Christ in this moment, but to have like a pretty damn good running back to slot in there next to Pat Mahomes.
Yep.
And they're going to be damn good, man. Over.
No, I agree. I think Edwards-Helaire is going to do a good job on first and second down, and they have enough running backs that will figure out third down if they're in a long distance or even short.
And I would say this, as I feel like we're working through this, there's not a lot of teams that we have pegged for double-digit wins.
Nope.
And we both feel confident that this team's going to soar past 11.5 wins. And
Yes.
maybe that's just because they're good, but also, like, I think it shows, like, and we talk about NFL having parity. Like, there's going to be a lot of teams in the middle of the pack this year, but, like, this team should be damn good. And they should be already preparing for the AFC Championship.
Well, I mean, you bring that up. I mean, we what do you have? I have the Bills. I have Baltimore. I think I have Pittsburgh. I don't know yet. I'm
Let me see. From last week, what do I got? I got them under, so it doesn't matter.
I don't know. I mean, oh yeah, because they're 9.5. So you're right. I think
I got Bills. I got Baltimore. I think Houston gets the double-digit wins.
Houston and Tennessee for me. Houston, Tennessee, and then Kansas City. I
guess that's 4 teams. I guess that's 4 or 5 teams. I guess that makes sense. All right. Las Vegas Raiders. First time? Actually, these next 2 teams is the first. Well, I guess they're not the first 2 times that they call themselves these names. But first time in a new stadium. The Las Vegas Raiders over under 7.5. Bullshit on the 7-5 over and under. I'm just going to call it. But, like, what do you got, D?
So the question is, new home, same Raiders? Listen, I mean, we talked about Sam Darnold last pod. Is Derek Carr good? He had that one. No, I mean, he had that one good season. Then his leg blew up. So maybe he was good, but he hasn't shown it since. He doesn't have Amari Cooper anymore.
They got weapons. I'm gonna say this right now. They got weapons. They might not have like your.
I like Hunter Renfro. I think Ruggs should be pretty darn good. I'll tell you what.
Josh Jacobs is not a bad running back.
No, I love Josh Jacobs. I think he's going to be great. But I love their front 7. I love Farrell.
It makes sense that they should be good.
I love Farrell. I love Crosby. And I love the free agent signing of Corey Littleton. With that being said, I'm still scared of Derek Carr. I mean, 7.5. They have to get to 8 wins. I don't see it happening in that division. I mean, they'll probably split with the Chargers. They'll probably split with Denver, and they'll lose 2. So you're already at 4 losses. I think they're going under, but barely. I think they're going to get the 7. But
I've got under. I think the stats on Carr, the data on Carr is that he checks down too much, and we're in a league now where the big play rules. You got to be willing to engage in the big play. 1, because it happens more now, and 2, because you get pass interference. And if all you're ever doing is we talked about it yesterday with Josh Allen. He does not like to check down. And again, that means there could be more interceptions, but what it means in today's NFL is there's more pass interference. I from the minute they signed Mariota, I saw this as and I'm a huge Mariota fan, even though he hasn't really shown it. He's going to get his opportunity. I just think he is. I think at some point Derek Carr is going to do bad enough that John Gruden, and again, we haven't even talked about Gruden. I think this is the biggest part of this whole conversation about the Las Vegas Raiders is what is John Gruden's legacy going to be as this coach? Because obviously they brought him here, 10-year deal. He's meant to be in Las Vegas. They got some offensive weapons, right? They got a defense that's coming along. But, like, what are we talking about here? Can Gruden get the players in camp? Can he get people working to make it happen? And I don't think Derek Carr is a QB. Unfortunately, I just don't think he is. Maybe Mariota is. But they got, and then they got my boy, Nate Peterman is the 3rd quarterback, who's a piece of shit, but that's neither here nor there. I may have believed for a minute that he was the real deal, but that's neither here nor there.
And he threw, 36 interceptions in the first 4 passes?
I can't believe he's on an NFL roster right now. He was the worst quarterback in NFL history. But Derek Carr is just – he's not a quarterback for 2020 NFL. Unless you're chucking the ball down the field. I don't even care what Gruden's offensive plan is. If you're not chucking the ball down the field, you're not being successful. It's just not going to happen. It just isn't going to happen. So I'm under. I don't see it happening. I just don't see it happening.
They got the opportunity in the future. if they can find a quarterback that can lead them.
The problem is, though, I mean, that's the crazy thing. That's a great point. How are they going to find that person? They're probably going to go 6-10, 7-8, or 7-9, and have the 11th pick again. Like they're stuck in this mediocrity because Derek Carr won't throw the ball down the field, even though they got all the weapons. All right, let's go to Los Angeles. Do they have a stadium yet? Do they have something?
I have no idea.
The Los Angeles Chargers.
Oh man, I looked at LAC and I was thinking the Los Angeles Clippers.
The Clippers?
Yeah, I did.
Big surprise. Third team in this division over under 7.5.
7.5.
Again, bullshit. I'm just calling it.
Listen,
first two I went under. I think the first two you went under. What do you got for this one?
So the Raiders. I talked a little bit about defense. And I'm gonna do it here with the Chargers. Joey Bosa, Melvin Ingram, Chris Harris, and Casey Hayward.
They got a defense, Doc.
They have a defense. They're going to keep them in games. I mean,
they were building that defense for Phillip Rivers. I'm just going to say it. That was it. It just took too long.
I mean, they played the Packers last year, and Packers had a great offensive line. They couldn't stop Bosa. They couldn't stop Ingram, and it made it tough. Yeah. We watched Tyrod Taylor bring the Bills to the playoffs, and I think he has the weapons. If Mike Williams comes back healthy, I think he has some weapons that can do it with the Chargers. I think they're going to fight for the wild card, and I think they're going to go over, just because of the defense.
I got under. I mean, there's a reason that Phillip Rivers left this team. There's a reason that a Phillip Rivers team that looked exactly like this couldn't win games last year. Their offensive line is awful.
But the difference is Tyrod Taylor is a little bit more mobile. He can get away from it.
Offensive line is in this day and age, when you are throwing the ball 30 to 50 times a game, and I know that's a big range, but when you're throwing the ball that much, you need your offensive. Like I think about the Buffalo Bills, and I'm just going to go homer for a minute.
Yeah,
they literally have signed a gajillion offensive linemen in the last 3 or 4 years. They have offensive linemen on deck, because you need them. The Chargers had a soon-to-be Hall of Fame quarterback in Phillip Rivers. They didn't protect him. Andrew Luck, potentially Hall of Fame quarterback in Indianapolis. They didn't protect him. You need to protect your quarterback in this league because when you're throwing it 35 times a game, these defensive linemen are getting at you, and that's just what's happened. And yes, Tyrod Taylor is mobile, but like he's not a spring chicken. And again, he's just keeping the seat warm for Hebert. Like that's it. That's all he's doing. He's not the quarterback of the future. It's not happening. Listen. And they've got offense. They've got Eckler. They've got Allen. Allen just got paid. You got Eckler. They got these weapons. So did Phillip Rivers last year. And how'd that go?
I mean, they picked up Brian Bulaga. That should store it up for the 5 to 7 weeks he's healthy.
Like how long's he been in the NFL? 15 years?
Right. I mean, again, it all comes down to health. I think they have the opportunity to do this. If the offensive line gets it together, they have a shot at making a wild card. Now,
I think this team falls on its behind, and they've got another hydra. Nothing's changed from last year except they spent a top 5 draft pick on a quarterback who's not going to play. That's it.
Well, if they're bad enough, he'll play by midseason.
But if they're bad enough, they might not let him play because what's the point of him getting hurt? Because if they're bad enough, it's their offensive line. That's my thing. That's the thing that makes me that's what makes me so worried about this team is that if they lose a lot of games and they bring him in, he's playing behind a crappy offensive line, and that's what can get him hurt.
No doubt.
I'm going under. You're going over. All right. Division winner. Do we even have to do this?
The Los Angeles, Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah. And who's your MVP?
I got Mahomes. I'm sorry. I don't want to do that. I really don't. I want to think someone's going to turn it on. Joey Bosa is going to have a 37.5 sack season. But Mahomes is just going to blow up.
This division just isn't that good too, right? Like the reality is Joey Bosa is a freak of nature, and on a good team, I think about TJ Watt, I think about JJ Watt, I think about Jadeveon Clowney. We've talked about some of these kind of dynamic defensive guys, and we will in a couple of days when we tackle the NFC. you could have a defensive player be the MVP, but you got to win games. You got to be on a good team. And the reality is, like, Joey Bosa is going to be, he's going to be working his tail off, but they're not going to be winning games. At least not enough to make a difference. And Mahomes, again, if Mahomes does what Mahomes has done for the last 2 years, he's going to be the MVP of the league. It's just.
Oh yeah, I mean that's who I have as my MVP of AFC. I mean,
are we doing that? Are we going AFC MVP?
That's who I have.
I mean, I guess I got to go. I mean, the homer in me wants to go Josh Allen because, again, as I mentioned yesterday, if the Bills are going to be good, it's going to be on the heels of Josh Allen. But Pat Mahomes is just a better quarterback.
Agreed. So it looks like we both have Buffalo. We both have Baltimore. We both have Kansas City. I have Tennessee. You have Houston. Do you have wild cards, or you're not there yet?
I mean, I guess I'd probably have Tennessee as a wild card. And then that second wild card probably either is New England or Pittsburgh.
Okay. So we're
because again, if I'm remembering correctly, which I know I'm right here, I got under on Pittsburgh, but I said they're going to go 9-7, and I wanted to push New England, but I went over just because I'm not gonna wuss out.
You're looking for some crazy tiebreakers to happen.
But I think they're going to go. I think they're both going to go 9-7, and so it's going to be Tennessee and one of those two.
So I mean, I have Pittsburgh and Houston, which is basically, you had Tennessee, or I'm sorry, you had Houston win the division, Tennessee going in. So we switched it, and I have New England under, so that's where we're at.
What it is. All right, we're lined up. Listen, we're coming to you guys with the NFC in a couple of days.
Whew.
Before we get out of here, what's your last call? Brought to you by Progression Brewing.
So my last call is really simple. We went out this weekend. Went up to a farm out in Munson, Massachusetts, and I just think I saw these people. What'd you say?
Shout out to Munson.
Yeah, shout out to Munson. It was. Let's do it again because I want to actually have the.
My bad. I'm sorry.
No, it's not your fault. It's my fault for not knowing the name of it. I almost said like Mountain West, but it's definitely not that. West View. There we go. What's your last call?
I got it. It's just like BLM vote. Stop being.
No, go. Say what's your last call?
All right, let's do it. Last call brought to you by Progression Brewing. Do what you got.
So we went out this past weekend, the family and I, and we hit up this farm, Westview Mountain, out in Munson, Massachusetts. And I think, there was a bunch of people out, and it was great. People had their masks on, and it was good. I just want to say support those local businesses. Get out there and, make sure these places understand that even though it's a tough time right now, we should be out there supporting them, that they're doing work for all of us, and they don't have to, but they are, and we appreciate it. So get out there if you have a chance. The place I went to, everyone was masked up. We pet some goats, and it was good.
No, listen, that's a great point. And the reality is, these small businesses are struggling, and you gotta get out and support them as much as you can.
Oh, and I'll tell you what,
get out there and do it.
No, I'll tell you what, it's a creamery. They had food. So I had a nice buffalo chicken sandwich. They had a bar. So I had a nice Greater Good pulp from Draft, and they had a band playing, very socially distant. It was fantastic.
That's awesome.
Beautiful view. And, it's something that we hadn't done before, but we finally were like, let's go do something like that. And we jumped in the car. We were gone for like 3.5 hours just driving around, and we ran into this place, and it was awesome.
That's incredible.
Yep.
And I'll just say my last call is something that we've touched on a bunch. It's not a big surprise. I'm just going to go straight up # Black Lives Matter. We're just in a weird place in this country. Over the weekend, the president scaled back his the diversity training for the White House, which is just a bananas thing. He said that it was like basically un-American. I'm probably going to get crushed for not quoting him right, but he was saying that it didn't jive with the values that he had. It's banana land. We are living in just a crazy world right now. So Black Lives Matter, we already know that. Justice for Breonna, justice for Ahmaud, justice for George Floyd, justice for all those folks out there. But also, I just want to say, we are like 2 months from the presidential election. This is a pretty damn big deal in my lifetime and probably everybody's lifetime. Get out there and vote, guys. Don't be afraid to vote, whether it's by mail, absentee, early voting. If your precincts open up early, get there. Try to get there. If you're able to help out with the voting in your town or in your community, do that as well. But just get out there and do something. Be a voice in this election, because the reality is we need some change, because we're not heading in the right direction.
Yeah, we are not heading in the right direction. I don't feel like where the United States is the best for the United States and, for every human being in this United States. It's been made better for some, but not all. And that's what you should be voting for, is for all, not just yourself.
All right, y'all. NFC's coming. We'll see y'all in a couple of days. Later, y'all.
Peace.